Today is Thursday, June 22nd. We have an update about what search crews have been hearing near where a Titanic tour group went missing as time for a rescue is running out. Also, a growing debate over ethics in the U.S. Supreme Court. And the latest report card for how 13-year-olds are doing in school. Plus, lab-grown meat from animal cells is now officially allowed to be sold in the U.S. Population trends are changing in big cities again. And a hyped-up NBA draft will explain why this year is especially noteworthy for basketball fans. Those stories and more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A massive search is still underway to find the group of people who went missing on a tour of the Titanic wreckage. The search includes an international fleet of ships with highly specialized equipment and technical experts. More have been arriving by the day, but they are racing against time since there could be just a few hours of oxygen left on the vessel. The trip started with 96 hours of life support, and it's been missing since Sunday. But experts say the air supply could depend on a range of factors, like whether the people on board have been panicked or if they lost power. So search crews aren't ready to give up just yet. They got a little bit of hope when they heard banging sounds in the search area for a second straight day yesterday. The Coast Guard rerouted some of its equipment to try to pinpoint the sounds, but as of this morning, it still doesn't know exactly what they were. And officials say it's tough to tell the difference between human and nature sound in the ocean. If the vessel is found, it also depends on where it is. If it's at the depth of the ocean, it's likely to take up to a full day to get the people inside, and it might have to turn into a recovery mission. Though one investor in the vessel says it's actually designed to come back up after 24 hours, so it could also be closer to the surface, making it more likely to be found and rescued. The Coast Guard says it's still holding out hope. Another U.S. Supreme Court justice is now defending his ties with a prominent GOP donor. A ProPublica report came out this week detailing an expensive and previously undisclosed luxury fishing trip Justice Samuel Alito took back in 2008. He went with billionaire Paul Singer, who often has cases before the Supreme Court, as well as other donors to conservative legal causes. This all comes as Supreme Court justices are facing questions over whether they should be reporting gifts and whether they should recuse themselves from cases involving their close contacts. And some experts in legal ethics say he should have at least come forward about the trip on yearly disclosures. But Alito says the law does not require him to do so. Just hours before the ProPublica report came out, Alito took the unusual step of writing his own article in the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal. He defended himself, saying no reasonable and unbiased person would see the facts and question his ability to do his job impartially. Alito's openness was seen as a bit of a surprise since his colleagues have taken different approaches. For example, Justice Clarence Thomas has been quiet about reports that say he took a series of lavish vacations with another wealthy Republican donor, Harlan Crow. And Chief Justice John Roberts has turned down an invitation from Congress to testify about the court's ethics practices. But lawmakers aren't ending this matter here. The Senate Judiciary Committee, which has a majority of Democrats, says it's going to write up a bill about Supreme Court ethics after the July 4th recess. A former FBI analyst is now going to prison for keeping classified documents at her home. Kendra Kingsbury's case is similar to the one facing former President Trump right now. Like Trump, Kingsbury was accused of violating the Espionage Act, but actually was charged with fewer counts. During her sentencing hearing, Kingsbury said she was loyal and was just guilty of being too honest, since she told the FBI a few years ago she had the docs and let agents search her house. But prosecutors also say she never really said why she took the classified materials home in the first place or how she used them. This week, she received nearly 4 years in prison. Some reports are pointing out that this could offer a glimpse at how the Justice Department might pursue the case against former President Trump. Although the former president's case has some added complications with all the politics involved. We talked more about that in our special edition episode last Saturday. For now, Trump's trial is scheduled to start on August 14th, though he's pleading not guilty. Well, there are some new concerns about how much American kids are learning, especially since the pandemic disrupted their education. The Education Department came out with the latest Nation's Report Card this week. This time, it showed math and reading scores from tests 13-year-olds took last fall. The average scores went down 4 points in reading and 9 points in math from the last time the tests were given 4 years earlier. In math, gaps are also widening based on gender and race. Scores were down more for girls than boys and more for Black children than white children. Last year, test results from 9-year-olds also showed a drop in reading and math scores. And just last month, test results from the 13-year-olds showed declines on social studies scores, too. The U.S. Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, says the scores largely reflect the losses caused by COVID-19 that left a lot of schools closed for more than a year. But that's not the only problem. Even though there is a big drop from pre-pandemic years, the decline is even more pronounced when you compare the most recent scores to those from a full decade ago. Cardona says it's going to take years of effort and investment to reverse the damage, and plans are underway to address the issue. So stay tuned. All right, we have more news for you still coming up. But first, let's take a quick break because this episode is sponsored by HelloFresh. HelloFresh offers farm-to-table quality with every box, offering seasonal recipes and pre-portioned ingredients. And that kind of quality is really important to me. I'm talking seasonal ingredients picked at peak ripeness that travel from the farm to your doorstep in less than 7 days. So it's fresh and it's flavorful. On top of that, I appreciate the quick and easy meals, including fast and fresh options that are ready in just 15 minutes. We recently made Parmesan chive chicken and potatoes with mixed greens and honey Dijon dressing, and we went from opening the box to eating a delicious homemade meal so quickly. No scouring the internet for recipes or searching the grocery store for chives that I'll probably only use one time. And yet I get to offer my family this unique, tasty meal with the kind of food and seasonings that I might not otherwise buy or spend time making. No wonder HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. And by the way, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so no matter what you choose, there's something for everyone. So go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Okay, now back to the news. The Texas heat wave we've been telling you about is breaking more all-time records, and there's no relief for the foreseeable future. Just a few milestones broken were in Laredo, Texas, where the temperature topped out at 115 degrees. It also reached 118 degrees in Big Bend National Park. And the humidity is so severe, the air feels as thick as it does in a tropical rainforest. With such extremes, people all around Texas have been asked to conserve energy and stay inside as much as possible. Triple-digit highs are expected to stick around over most of Texas through this weekend and could get even worse next week. It's possible this spell of dangerous heat won't let up even through the 4th of July holiday. Well, a few exclusive restaurants are working on a new addition to their menus: meat grown in a lab. For the first time, the USDA gave the green light for a lab-grown chicken to be sold to the public through 2 companies, Upside Foods and Good Meat. Instead of using living animals, they take animal cells and grow them in a controlled environment to make meat. Already last year, the FDA deemed their food safe for human consumption. But this step was needed too before it could actually be sold. Both Upside Foods and Good Meat say their process lets people enjoy real meat without most of the environmental or animal welfare drawbacks that come with conventional meat production. But some of that is up for debate at this point. Critics have questioned whether the specialized resources and the energy required to produce the meat will actually have a significant impact. And for now, at least, it's much more expensive than meat made from whole farmed animals. The U.S. is now the second country in the world, after Singapore, to allow the sale of meat that was grown from animal cells. America's consumer rights watchdog is now suing Amazon. The FTC says Amazon's website design has made it tough to opt out of auto-enrollment whenever someone wants to buy a product. Then, when people wanted to cancel to avoid the $140 yearly fee, the FTC says it's been tough to figure out how, and that even if customers get to the right place, they still have had to click through several options in a pretty cumbersome process. Amazon has actually changed up the cancellation process recently, but the FTC still says the company's tactics were manipulative, deceptive, and illegal. Amazon says, not true, that its design actually makes it clear and simple for shoppers to sign up or cancel. Either way, this is just the latest part of the FTC's crackdown. In recent weeks, the company also agreed to settle charges over privacy protections with its Ring doorbell and the Alexa digital assistant. Well, some of the biggest cryptocurrency firms in the world are now facing more than just new scrutiny, but new competition, too. A new crypto exchange, EDX Markets, went live this week. It's backed by big-name firms like Citadel, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and more. It offers trading in 4 cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. But unlike existing platforms like Coinbase and Binance, EDX has a non-custodial model. That means it does not hold on to clients' assets during trading. The company's CEO says separating the exchange from the broker-dealer functions makes the structure more similar to the traditional finance industry. This all comes as American regulators have been cracking down on the crypto side of things lately, with lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase. No matter what ends up happening with those lawsuits, CNBC now says it's becoming clear the interest in crypto is not waning. The NBA is welcoming in its next class of basketball superstars. The draft is happening tonight, and it's one of the more anticipated ones in recent years, mostly because of one player, Victor Wembanyama. The 19-year-old from France has been called the best prospect since LeBron James was drafted 20 years ago. And tonight, one team will select him at the draft. The San Antonio Spurs have the number 1 pick, so everyone pretty much assumes Wembanyama will be going there. Tonight's draft starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a break to thank our sponsor, ZocDoc. While I do think Google and social media can be helpful resources for gathering information and having good questions to ask, I definitely do not think they should be your go-to places for medical information and diagnoses. They can cause unnecessary anxiety and, to be honest, have questionable sources as so-called experts. So when I really need to know what's going on with my health or my family's health, I turn to trusted professionals with the credentials in that specific area instead of random people on the internet. And ZocDoc offers a great way to find some of those actual experts that are nearby, available, and take your insurance. Yes, ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. No more scouring the internet for unclear and conflicting answers. Join the millions of people already using this free app. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Today, we are talking about a comeback in big urban areas. You'll remember when COVID-19 first struck, there was a mass exodus from big, expensive cities, and people started to favor more rural or suburban areas. Since then, there's been speculation about whether the change would be permanent. Fast forward a couple of years, and now the Census Bureau says cities are rebounding. Take San Francisco. It lost 6.8% of its population in the first year of the pandemic. That same year, New York City lost 3.2% of its population. But when you look at the fastest declining cities now, none of the same ones are on the list. In fact, San Francisco and New York are seeing huge turnarounds. Of the 10 most populous cities in the country, the ones with more than 1 million residents, 9 reported growth. But less populous cities like Jackson, Mississippi and Lakewood, California are now seeing the biggest declines. Well, thank you so much for listening today and for sharing the show to help support us. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow, starting at 4 a.m. Until then, have a great day.